the late 1980s, a renowned French firefighter brought his children to live in a small town on the outskirts of Paris. With his philosophy and example to inspire them, those children and their friends began a journey that would give new life to the concept of movement. Today, their way has spread throughout the world. It has grown and evolved, taken root in the soil of many nations. It is a way that can be practiced anywhere by anyone. It is a path without a destination, a journey without end. But it had a beginning. And so the world comes to France, each person finding his own path, making his own way back to the source, where not too long ago a new discipline was born from ancient roots. It is a journey that unites us, that brings us together with our brothers and sisters from every corner of the world. For no matter what language you speak, no matter what color your skin, no matter if you are old or young, strong or weak, we all leave our footprints side by side in Lisses.
Or maybe I'm a dog who's lost its bite. I don't expect to be treated like a fool no more. I don't expect to sleep through the night. Some people say alive, 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 but I say why? Why deny the obvious child? Why deny the obvious child? Well, I've been waking up at sunrise. I've been following the light across my room. I watch the night receive the moon of my day. Some people say the sky is just the sky, but I say the cross isn't the ballpark. Why deny the obvious child?
Because all of the people you just saw are traceurs, and because a lot of those movements seem pretty well adapted to getting you from one side of an obstacle to another, this is the point in the video where you usually hear somebody say something like, "This is parkour." They'd say that, and since they could show you 100 different videos that all say the same thing, a lot of people would believe it. But there's really a whole lot more going on. It's not an easy concept to define. People have come up with all these different little catchphrases like A to B or reach and escape or the art of movement, but it always seems to miss the point. There's always some tiny little bit that gets left out. It's almost like trying to learn a definition in a completely different language. It's a physical language, and you can't translate it, and you can't understand it until you understand all these other things that go around it. I mean, on the surface it seems pretty simple. You run, you jump, you climb. But it goes so much deeper than that. When you actually try to do it yourself, you discover that not only do you not understand it yet, you can't understand it. You don't even have the vocabulary to talk about it until you get up and actually start moving. And so you slowly start learning this language, and over time your understanding of parkour changes so that you're constantly looking at it with fresh eyes, constantly stumbling across new connections, new ideas that you never even dreamed were there. The parkour itself never changes. I mean, it is what it is. But our ability to connect with that, to think in this language, is constantly evolving.
For many traceurs, a trip to Lisses is a crucial part of that evolution, a chance to really deepen our understanding of parkour and connect ourselves with its history and its origins. Hopefully, this video will give you a little taste of what that's like, of what it means to us to be able to say, yes, I've been there. But before we pack up and head to France, it's worth it to take a quick look at parkour itself, at the basics of its methods and its philosophy. This won't be a complete or flawless definition, because like everyone else, I'm still learning every day. But for those of you who are new to this world, it should provide a nice jumping off point for understanding the rest of our journey together. The founders of parkour were students of many different disciplines, such as gymnastics, climbing, and the martial arts. However, the strongest influence on parkour's concept and structure came not from these, but from Georges Hebert's méthode naturelle. Hebert, who was a leader in the development of modern physical education, devised a complete training system based on moral and ethical principles such as courage, action, and altruism. As a part of that system, Hebert took what he defined as humankind's natural and utility capacities and broke them down into 10 basic categories: walking, running, jumping, climbing, quadrupedal movement, balancing, lifting, throwing, defense, and swimming. Students of Hebert's natural method would engage in training sessions combining most or all of these capacities to develop physical and mental strength that could be adapted to any environment under any circumstances. Hebert believed that every human being had a responsibility to continuously develop themselves, physically and mentally, so as to be fully prepared to help others, especially in difficult situations in life. Hence his motto, être fort pour être utile. One must be strong to be useful. Although the founders of parkour never studied the natural method directly, they were strongly influenced by le parcours du combat, a military obstacle course discipline that grew directly out of Hebert's teachings. Thus, it's not surprising that parkour shares many of the core principles of the natural method, including its philosophy of whole-body strength and its insistence on utilitarian natural motion. In parkour, the goal is a complete freedom of action, an ability to move in whatever direction is called for with confidence, efficiency, and speed. A traceur's toolkit consists of any kind of movement that could be used to overcome an obstacle, including things like running, jumping, climbing, and rolling, as well as certain parkour-specific movements like the arm jump or the cat pass. However, while these and other familiar movements are a good starting point for beginners, it's important to remember that, just as in real life, there will always be situations where there is no quick and easy solution and a more flexible approach is needed. You can think of each specific technique as a phrase in the language of movement. By memorizing the most common ones, you'll be able to get around at least a little. But if you limit yourself to that kind of ability, if your answer to everything is a predefined response, you will never progress beyond a certain level, because you will constantly be trying to fit the world into your parkour instead of the other way around. It is the environment itself that matters, the environment and your ability to pass through it. For that reason, a traceur's attention should always fall first upon the obstacles, and only second on the moves. Of all of the obstacles that receive attention in the world of parkour, the one that is most often forgotten is also the most common: empty space. It's on flat ground that a traceur has the least advantage over a non-traceur. There's nothing to trip up an opponent, no shortcuts where technical skill can give you an edge. It's the obstacle requiring the greatest mental and physical endurance and the one that's the least interesting to train on or prepare for. Yet because empty space appears both between and within every set of obstacles, it's also the one traceurs need to be most aware of. In an art based upon a need for speed, there is nothing more fundamental than the ability to run. It is the heart and soul of parkour. The other techniques come into play only when something gets in your way. When preparing a training routine, a traceur should ask himself, what kinds of running do I need to be capable of? Because a parkour run often involves starts, stops, and breaks in momentum, traceurs should train sprints and hurdles side by side with endurance running. They should run uphill, downhill, and cross-country to get a sense of how different environments will affect their stamina and speed, and should also consider trying barefoot running or running with some kind of weight to improve their versatility under unusual circumstances. When working on one's overall ability to move quickly, there are no shortcuts. In the end, your performance will only be as good as your preparation. The second most common kind of obstacle, at least in the urban world, is a rail or small object, like a trash can or a garden planter. In some cases, the quickest way to deal with these obstacles is simply to run around them or jump over them. But to prepare for the times when this isn't an option, most traceurs practice various kinds of vaults, diving or jumping techniques that include the use of one or both hands to boost you up and over the object without losing speed. Dozens of different vaults have been defined by traceurs around the world, each tailored to a specific range of situations in which it is the most efficient technique. However, in actual runs, the distinctions between them are blurred and unimportant, and thus it's better not to bother with names, but instead to focus on the overall principle. Because the use of hands gives you extra power and control in your movement, it's often more efficient overall even if it slows you down a little. Having your hands in place allows for last-second adjustments to speed and direction that aren't possible in midair. Also, vaulting tends to keep your center of mass lower than jumping or hurdling, meaning that you expend less energy fighting gravity and absorb less impact on returning to the ground. However, although as traceurs we seek out obstacles that allow us to prepare for a wide range of possibilities, in a genuine emergency many of these obstacles would simply be bypassed for the sake of time, and thus the vault, which often gets the most attention from beginners, is actually one of the less important parkour techniques. The third kind of obstacle is a tall wall, one that is too large simply to be vaulted or run over. This category also includes unusual objects like gateways and fences, the sides of staircases, columns, or even in some cases the sides of trucks or dumpsters. Generally speaking, overcoming a wall involves solving two distinct problems: reaching the top with your hands and then pulling yourself up and over. Walls that are closely spaced or built with hand and footholds can be overcome using traditional climbing methods. However, the majority of the walls in the urban environment call for a technique known as a tic-tac. The main idea behind a tic-tac is that you can easily translate horizontal speed towards a wall into a direction change by pushing off with your feet. Typically, a single, solid step just above waist height is the best option.